Thanks so much for coming. My name is Gabi Villasenor, and I'm the North Clackamas Community Coordinator, as you all know. But we'll be recording this for our community that is far-reaching in Clackamas County. And today we're going to be talking about beneficial insects and pest management, which I know a lot of us are dealing with at the moment in our gardens. So first off, just want to ask a quick question and see what you all think. So what's the difference between a beneficial insect and a garden pest? Does anyone want to take a stab at that?
I believe the beneficial one
Mm-hmm.
is the one that it doesn't eat the leaves, it doesn't cause any damage to the crop or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Anything of that type of nature that's going to take over the plant in some way. That would
Yes.
be the non-beneficial
Perfect.
versus the other one. The beneficial one is the one that helps fertilize, helps control other bugs like aphids or whatever to kind of help get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think
Bonnie,
that's
yeah, that was perfect. You summarized it perfectly. Exactly. And a pest also is just an insect or bug that we don't want eating our vegetables, while a beneficial insect is a great collaborator. That's kind of how I've been thinking of it, because they live here too, right? So Bonnie nailed it right on the head. Our beneficial insects are, our bees, our ground beetles, uh, our ladybugs. All of those are going to be eating other bugs and insects that and the other bugs or insects are the ones that are eating all our vegetables. So and those are normally called pests. So thank you so much for sharing that. And first things first, maintaining a rich, healthy soil from the start is going to help you avoid pest problems and keep your plants healthy and able to fight off disease. So whenever in doubt, add compost, add your fertilizers, make sure your soil is looking healthy. That's going to keep your plants healthy and be able to have the immunity to fight off even a small amount of pests. So another question I have, who are these beneficial insects, aka your new best friends in the garden? Does anyone want to take a stab at guessing, guessing one or two? And we're going to go over them too. So if this is brand new information, then that's totally fine. We're going to go over a bunch of them. One that I've been really interested in is the first one that we're going to talk about, which is, oh, here we go, our favorite collaborators, which are ladybugs. I don't know if you've seen a couple in your garden already, but they are a great collaborator. So on this slide, these are all of the beneficial insects that we're going to talk about. Sometimes in literature, garden literature, they're called natural enemies to pests. So sometimes that language changes, but normally they're called beneficial insects. So we have the ladybug, the top left. We have the jumping spider. We have the ground beetle. Let's see, top right, we have the yellow jacket. And then on the left, we have the lacewing on the bottom. Then we have the bees. Varieties of bees are going to be helpful, different varieties. And then we have the praying mantis. And then we have on the bottom right, the hoverfly. And then in the middle, yeah, we have the Parastoid wasps. And this is just a handful. These are all in your garden manual. These are all listed. And yeah, this is just a handful of sort of the collaborators we'll be talking about. Let's see.
Gabi, would
Yes.
you include the worms?
Yes, for sure. That is like such a good call. Your worms are super beneficial for your soil. And they are going to leave so much calcium in the soil with their castings as they move through. And yeah, Bonnie, thank you so much for pointing that out because they're
What
like
about dragonflies?
dragonflies too. Yeah, definitely. Yep.
And we got butterflies too.
Butterflies too. Butterflies are great pollinators too. Um, yeah, definitely.
And
And hope, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I'm also gonna, because I have them, I'm
Hmm.
also gonna, I don't know if it's part of the insect, but bird. So I've got the hummingbirds that are, sucking on the flowers and
Hmm.
doing that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Plus, I have the regular birds that are coming out. Unfortunately, they're not eating on any of the seed that I can see,
Okay.
but they do kind of eat on the flower part of it.
Uh-huh.
Um, so so that's what I got going on out there at my garden. And I put out two hummingbird feeders, one for
Amazing.
the bees and one for the hummingbird.
Oh my
So
gosh. Perfect. Yeah,
I've got,
leaving out a little water dish or something for the bees is really, really great too.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I've saw three different varieties of bees. So I've got the big black
Nice.
bumblebee, I guess I call him. Then I
Yes.
have the yellow jacket and I had the regular honeybee. I haven't seen the jumping spider, but I
Hmm.
haven't seen any of the spider web
Oh,
out
yeah.
there.
So one thing
Um,
about the jumping spider too is they don't spin a web at all. Their main, when we get to them, we'll talk a little bit about how they just jump on their prey, which is kind of
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Thank you for sharing all of that, though. That's really, really great to hear, just like the ecosystem that is like that's in your garden right now, and how much you're paying attention to it too. It's
what about that brown looking? It's like a beetle or a bug, but um, it's not a stink bug. But there's a
oh
type of it's a bug that's got like little
yeah,
head pieces, or what do you call them? Antennas that come out of them.
yeah. I think you might be talking about this big-eyed bug, and I have a resource page at the end of this presentation, and I really want to show you all. You can get one of these crop pests and natural enemies field charts, and it's essentially, you can open it up and see which pests are eaten by which beneficial insects. So I'll definitely try and get a couple of these to drop off to you all, but if not, then we'll try and get you the link to that. I'm gonna keep going through this. So just to start off, as we said, the ladybug coming in hot with as a great beneficial insect for us. It eats tons and tons and tons of aphids. So it has a pretty insatiable appetite for aphids. They can eat up to 5,000 aphids over its lifetime. Um, they, let's see, they really like cilantro, dill, fennel, caraway, yarrow, tansy, angelica, scented geraniums, and cosmos. Um, so these are all plants that you kind of want to have planted already before you're doing your vegetable garden. The general sense is like have blooms all year long. Try to here, but also just when the spring comes, hopefully these plants are already blooming and happening, so that while you're before you put in your vegetables, so that it's kind of attracting the beneficial insects and keeping things in balance. Um, so the next one is the yellow jacket. So they feed on caterpillars and harmful flies. Um, they usually have nests that are in like attics or porches or eaves of a house. and you know, it's up to you whether or not you want to leave those there, especially if someone's allergic. You definitely don't want to, but um, yeah, these they also eat rotting fruit and aphids, so they're pretty cool to have around. Um, we definitely have some in our garden. So the next one that we're going to look at is the Parastoid Wasp. I think I'm pronouncing that right. These are pretty interesting little wasps. So they help get rid of aphids, beetle larvae, bagworms, cabbage worms, which I think Regina, you might be having on your broccoli. Uh, Colorado potato beetle, corn earworms, cucumber beetles, cutworms, tons of different caterpillars, mealybugs. So they are just like an incredible insect that just you know, ravage through the garden and take away all the pests. They also lay eggs, as you can see up in this left-hand corner on these caterpillars. Um, yeah, so to attract them, you're going to want to think about planting cosmos, again, dill, fennel, lemon balm, thyme, yarrow, zinnia, and statis. Um, the next one, bees. They're obviously great pollinators, and you need pollination to happen for so much of your crop. So um, let's see. Especially for cucumber, squash, zucchini, pumpkins, watermelon. Um, the types of flowers you definitely want to have are cone flowers, sunflowers, asters, any type of wildflower mix is great. And there's also different types of bees. I think Bonnie had mentioned she's noticed like 3 different um, species in her yard. So I was going to talk a little bit about pollination, but I think we'll skip that and just see if anybody has questions about that. We can come back to it. Um, the next one that I want to talk about that's really beneficial to see in your garden is the lacewing. So they are like a generalist predator. So they're feeding on aphids. They're controlling mites. They also eat like other soft-bodied insects like caterpillars or mealybugs or whiteflies. So yeah, you'll let's see, what does it say? Yeah, should you notice an aphid problem that needs to be brought to the attention of lacewings, you could try this. I've never tried it before, but you can spray plants with a light solution of sugar and water, 1 tablespoon sugar per cup of water. And that actually stimulates aphid honeydew, it's called, and can quickly increase visits by more lacewings. So I thought that was kind of cool as a way to like bring more lacewings into your garden. And if I'm going too fast, just let me know. I just want to kind of get through these and see if we have any questions, because I know everyone's come in with different insects in their garden. The praying mantis, I love this photo. Just such an incredible looking insect for one. Love to see them out and about. They are also sort of generalist feeders, which kind of makes them not only a beneficial insect, they'll eat everything. So they sometimes even eat butterflies or bumblebees. But so they're kind of like a neutral um, insect in the garden, but I would say they're so cool to look at. And if you see one, you're probably not going to see like many in the garden. I've only ever seen one in my garden, and they're incredible. But they do eat some of the some of the bugs that are eating your veggies. So I would just say keep them in there. These are some of the plants that they like on the bottom too. Marigold, raspberry canes, dill, fennel, and all types of plants and herbs. The ground beetle, these are incredible little beetles for your garden. They work all night long and are like scouring in the middle of the night for different mites or snails or slugs, caterpillars, earwigs, aphids, and lots of other insects. So when you see these guys, wave hello. They're amazing. Give them a thumbs up. Um, Mainly for their habitat, mulching, which we talked about in the fall, having a thin layer of mulch is really good for the garden, and it actually produces a habitat for these guys. So, also flat stones or boards also serve ground beetles by providing safe places to rest during the day. So, what else? Uh, Bushy amaranth plants attract these beetles. The hoverfly is also a pollinator, so really important there. The larvae of hoverflies are important predators of pests. So the larvae will eat like aphids and little caterpillars. They're right up there with like lacewings and ladybugs. They're just like so good to have around. And then the jumping spider. Yeah, Bonnie was saying she doesn't really see the web in the garden. It's because these little ones don't make webs. They actually, yeah, they hunt during the day and they just sneak up and then pounce on their victims. So these spiders eat spider mites, aphids, flea beetles, mosquitoes, caterpillars, lots of those herbivores, those like little pests that we don't want in our garden. And they have 8 eyes and spectacular vision, and they're pretty cute once you look close up, I think. So maybe you'll see some of those. And so those were all of our beneficial insects. So we're getting into sort of like what we named a lot of those pests that they eat, but are there any other common pests that you all have seen in the garden?
Gabby, I've
Hmm.
noticed the ants.
The ants. Okay. Yeah.
So I sprayed on the outside of my garden to control that part of where their ants are.
Okay.
Um, and occasionally I find them in the gardens,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
um, I haven't seen any big nest of any or anything like that in the garden.
Okay.
Um, and the other insect was the earwig.
The
That's the one I'm
earwig.
thinking.
Yes, the
So,
earwig is definitely one of the ones I see the most as well.
okay.
Um, and let's see which one. We just went through some. I'll go back and see which insect actually eats specifically the earwig. But also we can kind of look up and see some other ways to uh, to get rid of the earwigs as well.
Yeah,
But the
the only other thing I have, but it's not bad, is that slug.
Yep. Hmm.
Um, you can see a trace of it on like the
Yes.
leaf,
Yep.
but they don't seem to be taking over and eating all the leaves and stuff either.
Yeah.
So I think with everything I've got in the garden,
Yeah.
with the lavenders and the marigolds and all that, I
Yeah.
think it's keeping them under control.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I don't see any other bad pests. because everything I got coming in the garden is some of the stuff that you talked about as
Mm-hmm.
far as the good
Mm-hmm.
um, insects and stuff.
Yeah,
So
cool. I mean, so
I'm
yeah, if
curious to
you're,
know what some more are.
yeah, maybe you're seeing a little, maybe you have a really balanced garden too, you know, maybe you're seeing a lot more of those beneficial insects, which is great. Um, definitely, um, the slug is one we haven't really talked about. Um, we have, so we have, yeah, the slug on the, just to the right of the cucumber beetle, which is the top left. That might be the one that's poking holes in the broccoli, Regina. And then also we have these little, they're called symphilins. I think that's how you pronounce it. The one to the right, the centipede that's sort of long, the third picture into the right, um, they actually are in the soil and they eat away the little tiny white roots underneath the soil of your plants that your plants are starting to grow. So when you see them, you definitely want to do something about that. Then there's the cutworm. So you on the far right top hand photo, and so the cutworm is taking out. You can see that it's kind of eating away at the leaves towards the center. So that's sort of one indication that you can, or how you can recognize it might be the cutworm. On the second row, the aphids. This is picture's kind of cute because it's a big aphid with a little baby aphids, but they can get sort of just overgrown. There can be too many. I ended up, these are obviously not insects, but the blossom end rot on the bottom of that tomato, you can see. Um, that is, that can sometimes happen when you don't have enough calcium in your soil. And then there's the powdery mildew right above that. So these are two things that just kind of often happen in the garden. So I ended up adding those in. The next one to the right is the flea beetle. And again, like eating little chunks away in the leaves is kind of one way you can identify that one. And then the cabbage worm, which if you lift up some of your leaves in your garden right now, you might see some of these. They're also on the top of the leaves, but sometimes they're pretty fat and big, long, you know. So you can just pick them off. That's kind of um, what I've been doing. And so those little caterpillars transform into the cabbage white moths, and then those are um, flittering about in your garden. Um, so I also just wanted to add that in your manual too, um, each one of these pests is has, you know, it shows a photo of it. It has what it likes to do in your garden to your veggies, and then it has all these different ways that um, you can try and deal with these pests. So definitely refer to that manual whenever you see anything like this. Um, just some other tips, general tips. Just avoid using pesticides at all costs. They kill the good insects along with the bad ones. So the bad ones, I say it like that. You know, the good insects, obviously, we want them in the garden. I do this because I think, you know, who's to say what a bad insect is? You know, we just don't want a lot of them in our garden. Um, you want to keep things flowering in your garden at all times because that's going to provide habitat, it's going to provide food, it's going to provide um, resources for your beneficial insects. And then, yeah, remembering that a small number of pest insects, they're actually good for your garden because they keep beneficial insects around. So, um, you know, it gives the beneficial insects food. The goal isn't really to be 100% pest free because it's not actually achievable. It's really just to have that balance. So You really just don't want too many pests. You want to have a good balance. So yeah, learning how to live with a little bit of pest damage. You can still eat all your greens if they have a couple holes here and there. That won't hurt anybody. But it's really when like, your whole crop of broccoli is just full with aphids and you don't know what to do. Like then we need to like talk about some measures. Um, so yes. So just to refer back to the manual really quick, this is just such a good resource. These are all the things we kind of talked about in terms of pests. So if you all have like a question or you need to identify what's kind of what you're seeing in your garden, these 2 pages, I think 15 and 16 in your manual, are just really good resources.
Gabby, do you know
Mhm.
the adding the baking soda and water is
Ye-
how many parts of baking soda how many parts of water? Do you kind of know that?
For the powdery mildew,
Yeah.
let me see. Mix part. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it doesn't say it on there. I will look that up and then send you an email about it. I'm
Okay,
gonna write
cool.
that down. Yeah. Thank you
That's the
for.
water bottle that I'll be using, so I want to
Okay.
keep it out there at the garden. So when I get out there, I'll get that under. It's not bad, but I want to keep it under control.
Yes, definitely. And I've also just cut off um some of the leaves. You want to leave enough leaves so that it can still um capture sunlight, but if I see it starting, excuse me, and I'll cut off that leaf. But I do think, yeah, getting it early and getting that outbreak control is crucial for powdery mildew. Thank you so much for that question. And lastly, I will send all of these in an email to everybody, but there are some really great resources out there, just in terms of learning a little bit more about pest management and other insects in your garden. But I think I really want to get everybody one of these big posters. I know you can't really see it, but it says building habitat for beneficial insects, and it kind of goes over, you know, everything you need to plant for them to show up in your garden, and then it has, an entire um, system to show you what those insects do, what they like to eat. And so yeah, I will try and get this to everybody because I know it's kind of a lot of information. I hope it wasn't too much information today. But I'll also send out these slides um, to everybody. And I think that is actually it for us.